What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Cullen's Music Corner. I'm Cullen the Great. Today we're going to be doing another one of them album reviews. We're going to be talking about Jack Harlow's That's What They All Say. Whew! Now, this past weekend, there was so much good music that came out. On top of Jack Harlow's That's What They All Say, you also had Mr. Kid Cudi dropping Man on the Moon 3. And then I even believe Taylor Swift dropped a surprise album this past weekend or this past week. So there has been a lot of good music that I have been listening to. The perfect way to end 2020 and kind of start 2021 off with a bang. But without further ado, let's dive right on in depth on That's What They All Say. Because that's what they all say. This is Jack Harlow's debut album, and I gotta be honest with you, I went into this whole experience with very, very, very high expectations. Everything that Jack Harlow has been dropping recently has just been like straight heat, so I was kind of expecting this album to be nothing different than just straight heat. It was a really, really good album, but it was not what I was expecting. It was a very overall, the tracks kind of flowed together. There wasn't anything that sounded too similar to one another, but it just wasn't as catching, as kind of boppy, as much as I had hoped it would be. It was very laid back, very mellow, and I guess that's kind of the style of Jack Harlow. Only the few hype songs that were on there, in my opinion, were ones that he kind of had dropped prior to the album being released, so they were the promo singles. He didn't really drop anything with that kind of mellow vibe to it, so I was kind of led on to believe that it was going to be a real hype party album, and not to say that it wasn't, but there was a lot more kind of smooth sounding tracks on there, I guess you could say. Some really good things about it, though, is that every song did sound different. And that was one of my biggest critiques, like kind of going into this album. That was one thing I was really listening for, was how was he able to differentiate himself from every song? Because, I mean, Tyler Harrow, What's Poppin', Ghost, those are all really big Jack Harlow songs that I like, and they all have a very similar flow, very similar rhyme scheme, and just kind of structure to the song. So I was really looking to see how he was going to switch it up. And this album, it was like, in my mind, I'm thinking, why did I even have this critique? Because every song sounded different. His flow was different. I didn't even know he could hit some of the notes that he was hitting in this album. I was actually blown away. I was really impressed. Jack Harlow is one of those guys who reps his hometown like crazy, as every artist should, BTW, but he definitely put Louisville rap on the map, something that I don't really think has been like done before. I know you have like Bryson Tiller, Static Major, there's some bigger names that are from the Kentucky area, but they never really created as big of a wave for the scene in that area as Jack Harlow did. And in this album, it's definitely like a Louisville love letter, like the Rolling Stone described it. Each song is just littered with references to his hometown, references to friends, family, etc., people that have been there supporting him, just kind of what he does in his everyday life. And I think that's one of his strengths. That's kind of how he was able to get on the platform that he is now, is because he has that strong love for his hometown. And if you notice, some of his most popular songs, some of his biggest and best songs are really when he is repping Louisville, Kentucky. This album is like the perfect mix between pride and nonchalance. He's a very laid-back kind of party-style rapper, which is where you get those more mellow-feeling tracks in the song. But then the pride comes out when he's proud of where he's from. He's representing the area that he grew up in, and he knows his worth. And I think in the opening lines, or like the first 2 or 3 bars in the opening song, he basically comes out and says that. So he's had to work for everything that he's got, and he's at the point where he wants to be now, so why not be prideful like that? And this album is definitely a perfect representation of Jack Harlow. I do wish it was a little more hype. I do think he's got some more hype to him, and I think he was just trying to kind of make a better overall album that appealed to a lot more people rather than just kind of fixate on what he thought or what his best work is, if that kind of makes sense. One thing that's also really unique about Jack Harlow is that he does have that Louisville, I guess you could say he created that Louisville kind of Kentucky sound for rap, but it's something that you can play everywhere. It's commercially viable. It's not something that is going to be stuck in one region, one area. Every kind of area has their own style of rap. You have Atlanta style rap, East Coast, West Coast style rap. It's all a little bit different. And sometimes there's artists that are really, really big in their city and they just can't quite break out of their area, their region. And it's for that is because their style, their sound is only popular in that area. But Jack Harlow's sound and that Kentucky kind of rap is popular everywhere. It's one of those commercially viable things. And I mean, What's Poppin', when he dropped it, peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it has not left since February. It's just one of those sounds where it sounds good. Everybody can kind of get down to it. And no matter where you are, you can kind of turn up to it a little bit. So he's just an all-around good vibes kind of guy, makes some good music, and this album was no different than that. Kind of going back to how every song sounded different, I think a big part of that has to do with the beats and the instrumentals that he had for this album. They were all, like I said, very different, but what I enjoyed most in the different beats is the different styles that he had in there. You heard kind of like some funk style, some R&B kind of style instrumentals. You had like some 70s music style instrumentals in there, and it was all stuff that he was really able to kind of get creative with and come up with a dope sounding song. And Jack Harlow is kind of what I'd like to say is Louisville's Drake, and the way that he kind of sings and his delivery style. I mean, there's a few songs on here where it sounds almost not identical to Drake, but just like I said, his delivery, the rhyme scheme, what he's going for, and the message behind the lyrics is all very similar. You have songs like Same Guy, where when he breaks into the verse, it sounds identical to a Drake song or Drake songs that I have heard before. You have songs like Creme, which is kind of like more of a hype Drake, like creme de la creme and it's filled to the brim. It kind of gives off that Drake singing vibe, that R&B kind of to it. And even Best Friends with Chris Brown, he's got that kind of boppy in the club but like mellow R&B style to it. And I think that kind of equates perfectly to Drake, but not so much in that sense. So don't know where he got his inspiration from, but that's kind of what I'm guessing, is not that he was going to sound like that or he was trying to sound like that, but that's the direction that he is heading in, or he just kind of wants to appeal to more of a mainstream audience. Either way, I think he did a really good job. I didn't know he had those kind of flows, that kind of range in his vocals, and he's one of those artists that he sounds good with auto-tune on, and that sounds kind of weird because not a lot of his songs have auto-tune on, but in those R&B style tracks where he's similar to Drake, there is a bit of auto-tune, and when he dips down into the lower notes, you can really hear it, and it actually sounds good on his voice. It doesn't sound too distorted, too out of place. It sounds like it's supposed to be there. I was really impressed by what I heard on this album. I think overall I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 just because I really wanted there to be more hype music on there. It was a lot more laid back and mellow, nonchalant than I had hoped it would be, but at the same time it offered a different perspective into Jack Harlow. He did a lot of things right that I was kind of critiquing him on before, so it's really cool to see the progression that he had, and just to kind of know that like I was sitting there judging him and he was just kind of sitting there like, oh, just you wait for this album, you don't even know what's about to hit you. And like every critique I had, he addressed with this. So just really great piece of work. I just wanted it to be a little more hype. That's all. Couple notable songs that I think should get a little bit more love. Obviously, you have What's Poppin', the What's Poppin' remix, Tyler Harrow on there, and Way Out with Big Sean, which were all songs that he dropped to promote the album. But songs like Already Best Friends, songs like Route 66, that goes hard. And even Love Is Dro has a really kind of catchy, cool sounding hook to it. And that's the song where he gets those Kentucky natives, Kentucky locals, Bryson Tiller and Static Major to kind of jump on the track and feature with him. So really great piece of work, and super excited to see what Jack Harlow has coming up for us. But that just about does it for me here at Cullens Music Corner. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and checking out my videos. I really appreciate it. Let me know what your favorite song off Jack Harlow's That's What They All Say is down in the comment section below. And while you're at it, you might as well hit that like, hit that subscribe button, follow me on all of my social medias. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram under @CullenTheGreat_. You can find me on Facebook under Cullen The Great, and you can find me and all my music on your favorite streaming service under Cullen The Great. Till next time, guys. Peace.